Floyd Shivambu is one of the most childish people in our political space. He continuously tries to lie to South Africans, and he gets away with it for a simple reason. Most South Africans are sadly simply blinded by either hate or poor logic. Jacob Zuma said this just recently.
Wahlanya umuntu sezithi ngizomala hambe ngikhuluma nabona amakhosi babindaba ezitha nabanye ukuthi ayifuneki yini inhlangano nawo nangumuntu esishitsha.
We will be seeking the wisdom of prominent South Africans, inclusive of Dr. Ivan Khoza, of Dr. Patrice Mutsipi, of Dr. Keza Mtaung, of Dr. Michael Nkuna. We will be seeking opinions of different sectors of society as to, is there a need to form a political party? That is the first question that we're going to ask. That if yes, what should be the values and principles of that political party?
Angithi wayezokuthi ugebengu sokuxoxa ngelinye ilanga nothi namhlanje. Ehamba nje kanti yenza izinto zonke ezirong. Ehamba ekhohlisa abantu. Kodwa nganitshela ngisho futhi ngoba nisuke nikhale.
Who was he talking about in that instance? He was talking about Comrade Floyd Shivambu. He leaves EFF and says that was the best decision he has ever made.
And then I joined Umkhonto weSizwe. In the early stages, I actually had said on social media to say that this is the best decision ever taken politically. I'll stick by that. Joining Umkhonto weSizwe is the best decision I've ever taken in my political.
Spoke about how Zuma is a dangerous man. Time and time again, he has proven himself to be a snake. Now, I understand that it is difficult for some of you to accept that Jacob Zuma cannot be trusted because he has said and even done certain things that feed the emotions that you have towards certain people. But hopefully, one day you will see the light. For some reason, Floyd Shivambu thought that he was safe from the treacherous character of Jacob Zuma, but clearly he wasn't. Anyone who objectively looks at Jacob Zuma and his past actions will see that he really is a poisonous individual. Floyd Shivambu approached the unreformed Jacob Zuma, the terrible serpentine Jacob Zuma, with no caution at all. Floyd approached like a little naive baby. After getting kicked out of his positions within the MK party, he wants to come to all of us as South Africans to make it seem like both he and Zuma are just victims.
There was a statement written to remove me as the Secretary General on the basis that I'm about to announce a political party with Togo Zihwale and Lindo Sisulu, whom I have never spoken to about anything. Draft statement and was even shared with me that remove him today because he is going to form a political party. And that is full-time work that is dedicated on everything that you do. When you sit down, it's a problem. When you stand up, it's a problem. When you go out, it's a problem. When you come in, it's a problem every day. Because those who surround him have got evil intentions in terms of what got to happen.
He treats the audience and the people of South Africa as if they are tiny little baby-minded people.
I've got tremendous respect for President Zuma. I think that in the few close working relationship that we've got to maintain and work with, I think I've learned more in the 6 months than I learned in the 10 years I was Deputy President of Umkhonto weSizwe, of the EFF. I learned more as a member of Umkhonto weSizwe than I learned as a Deputy President of the EFF. In terms of real politics and appreciation of both the domestic and the global politics much more thoroughly in terms of the issues. And under no circumstances would I ever fault President Zuma and his politics, I joined Umkhonto weSizwe because I thought that as part of the political historiography of South Africa, his politics and character should be protected and a legacy built around his proper politics, not the ones of gullibility and producing of fake intelligence report.
So a fully grown man is saying that. A close look at this nonsensical speech shows that he has kissed the Zuma family boots in that party. He was humbled and reduced to nothing by the same man that he went to join. Floyd Shivambu sadly made the mistake that others made right before him. And who are these people who got ruined by Jacob Zuma, the destroyer of lives? Well, we have this guy called Jabulani Kumalo, who thought he could harness the fame that Zuma has in order to eat from it.
Let us consult with the elders who are matured in the politics. So we decided to visit Mr. Jacob Zuma, which in whom is my home father, because we from the same place. Now, when we went to meet him, we went there to discuss the economy and the other problems that are happening in South Africa and the failures of the ANC, which were saying the ANC not doing well for doing justice towards the South Africans. So we said, because he's an elder and a veteran in the ANC, he will give us a pure and clean answers as to what we should be doing to change the problems that we're having in South Africa.
Only after Zuma took the MK party from him and kicked Kumalo out, does he now believe that Zuma is a horrible person.
Because we had too much of problems with these people that are thugs, that tries to get into the organization fraudulently. And I must stress this, that in the MK party, those people that they claim to be leaders, most of them, they like forgery. They like to do things wrong way. I think they need to be taught a lesson.
He wasn't the only one. Various church leaders encouraged people to support Zuma and the MK party.
We want to call everyone that in order for us to achieve the 2/3 majority, come let us join forces and vote together and vote for Umkhonto weSizwe party.
Lamenting the current state of the country, some members of the religious sector have chosen to rise up and spread a clear message to its community to place its X on the newly formed Umkhonto weSizwe political party in the 2024 general elections.
Why? Because they were promised positions and titles. But guess what? They too were betrayed.
To this story now, the All African Alliance movement is taking the Umkhonto weSizwe party to court over the expulsion and breach of a contractual agreement. The matter will be heard at the Western Cape High Court on the 6th of December. Now, according to the Organization of Church Leaders, the MK party failed to honor what it says is a legally binding agreement which stipulates that the post-elections, the two parties would share power. AAAM Secretary General Bishop Mishek Tebe further adds that they were unlawfully removed from the MK party's parliamentary list. Tebe says they are furious and feel used after galvanizing support for the MK party during the elections. The official opposition will not keep their commitment.
As AAAM, we were going to put aside our movement and then become a mobilization force for Umkhonto weSizwe party. Believe you me, which is what we did in terms of the numbers that we got. And apparently after the elections, that is where now things started going sour. And that is where we lost the relationship, started dwindling down. But unfortunately, we were not informed of what is happening. The church is very angry. The church is very angry. The masses are out there very angry. The traditional leaders out there are very angry because the message that we delivered, you remember that our message was a 2/3 majority. And particularly, we were calling to all religious formations. And we were spearheading that, particularly myself in that particular environment. I was always there. So we were spearheading that area. Now, all of a sudden, boom, it's all done. The nation is disappointed. The body of Christ is wounded. And the body of Christ needs to get a healing.
A bunch of people resigned from their jobs and uprooted their lives hoping to receive titles, but they too were betrayed.
Now, staying with that story, the MK party says it won't publicly comment on the expulsion of its former members of parliament. 10 out of the 18 MPs have approached the courts after failed attempts to engage the leader, Jacob Zuma. Tim Tongana reports.
These expelled MK party MPs are demanding answers for their axing. They've approached the courts for reinstatement and the halting of the swearing in of their replacements in Parliament.
They never engaged us, they never spoke to us. You must check how many times the list has been updated, the list going to Parliament. So if they engaged us prior and then there are new members who are coming in now, where does that space come from? Why did Sihle write to the Secretary of Parliament on the 5th of July, but in August he was deploying us to provinces? If we had been expelled and some of us had resigned in July, why was he deploying us to provinces to do constituency work?
Leadership yakhe. Yes. And if really bafuna exchange thina mhlawumbe ngohlobo abenza ngalo kuthi lento beza sebephethe abantu abangayazi ipeni yomkhonto ukuthi umkhonto usukaphi umkhonto kunabantu abakhuphe imali zabo kunabantu abathathe ixesha labo ukuthi benze ukuthi umkhonto ube lapha today kodwa abo bantu abo abekho sentshuba nakule replacement asiboni kwamagama wabo.
Their case will be back at the Western Cape High Court on the 3rd of September.
Now to you as a voter. Pause and think. If the person who registered the party was betrayed, if the church leaders who helped get the party votes were betrayed, if the party members who gave up their jobs to work for the party were betrayed, if the one who helped draft the constitution of the party was also betrayed, why won't you, a mere voter whose name they don't even know, be betrayed? Why do you think that they will be loyal to you? Back to Floyd Shivambu. He joined a party that had been riddled with betrayal since its inception. And when he joined the MK party, he tried to rewrite history by claiming that we had been lied to regarding the issues of Jacob Zuma.
The former EFF deputy president played a central role in Zuma's removal as the country's president.
You would know that during President Zuma's presidency, there was a lot of falsehoods that were spread by the media, that is a house which is built in Dubai, like a huge mention of 400 million, all sorts of falsehoods, by the way. And we fell into that trap and joined into that nonsense of saying there's everything wrong with President Zuma. And then we called for the commission of inquiry into so-called state capture. But when the revelations came on the state capture, we realized that actually there is nothing which has been alleged President Zuma had done wrong. Like there's objectively nothing that represents any state capture from his side. But we fell into the trap because the politics which I am purposefully departing from, and I've never been part of that, even when the entire grouping was excited about individualizing politics and everything else there. Like we have to move away from these things of wanting to fight individuals because it blinds you from so many progressive things.
Just imagine an adult male telling such juvenile lies. He himself was in Parliament exposing the corruption of Jacob Zuma, but he suddenly wants to tell you and I that Zuma was as good as an angel. So now tell me, do you expect such a person to tell you the truth when he is betrayed by Jacob Zuma and the Zumas in general? Do you? You will not. Shivambu chose to make it seem like Zuma is a victim of some group of people within the MK party that are deceiving him. Take a listen.
So, as a disciplined member of Umkhonto Wesizwe, want to put on record as to what were the reasons that were given in the national officials for my redeployment. The reason given in the national officials for my redeployment or removal as Secretary General was that I want to overthrow President Zuma as the president of Umkhonto Wesizwe. That is what was said. That all the work that we were doing as Secretary General of establishing structures and identifying leaders was meant ultimately at the removal of President Zuma as president of Umkhonto weSizwe. And as part of that reasoning, an extremely bizarre and fake intelligence report was produced, which was claimed to be a conversation between me and some people in the African continent, where it is alleged that despite raising money to remove President Zuma, I'm also accumulating supernatural powers to make people disappear. That is the reason why we had to deal with superstitious issues as the basis of what happens, that there's apparently a head which I was going to be given to give to someone, and some people were going to die so that I can become president of Umkhonto weSizwe. That was the intelligence report, which were rejected with contempt and said that that is absolute rubbish, and said that we accepted the redeployment to parliament with those misgivings that we're going to make people disappear in order to take over the leadership of Umkhonto weSizwe. And in a subsequent meeting post that, another fake report was presented which claims to be WhatsApp conversations between me and someone else, where I'm reported to be saying that, yeah, I'm going to use parliament now to take over the party. And I've got money from Stellenbosch who are going to take over the party through parliament. They are taking me closer to where we're going to take power. And as a result, a decision was taken which was not yet communicated, that no, even this thing of parliament must not happen. In fact, the former Secretary General, which is myself, must be expelled from the organization. A letter was written and was put in the briefcase of the president, who said that he's going to dispatch it as and when he feels like to discontinue my membership of Umkhonto weSizwe. Those are actual facts.
Imagine. Instead of saying that Jacob Zuma is a useless leader who I should have never followed, he wants to make it seem like the people that surround Zuma are the only problem within the MK party. Maybe Floyd wants to keep his options open. Who knows? Anyway, here's Julius Malema to tell us more about Jacob Zuma and how he deals with intelligence reports.
Zuma is highly compromised. He's a political liability and he lacks capacity. Even if he can agree to economic freedom program, he doesn't have what it takes to implement any program. So everything that he touches becomes a problem. So even if he agrees, he must go. He must just go. It doesn't matter. Even if he can come tomorrow and say Malema is the best leader, whatever, I will never agree. He has got no capacity. Leave the rest. He can agree with you, but the capacity to implement and lead, it's not there. For him, it goes even beyond the political program. Just the capacity to carry any program. Maybe cultural activities, I don't know. But the political program, I don't think. Yeah, but he's also too old. I think he must rest, man. He's getting more older by the day. He has worked out nicely his pension. And from president into pension, you are guaranteed a salary for the rest of your life and protect us and certain benefits. What more does he need? And people say no, status quo for the sake of unity and all that. There will never be unity under President Zuma. He's very divisive. He's a divisive type of a leader who likes to believe in conspiracies. Sometimes he forms conspiracies himself, forms a conspiracy and tells this one, oh no, this is what is happening. Something that he has formulated himself. And this one will go and tell this one. This one wouldn't know that this conspiracy comes from the president. He goes and tells the president, and the president believes him. The president has forgotten that actually he's the one that started the story. He's going to start telling people that the information came here, that this is what they are planning, and all that. So that's the type of life we live in this country. So
So basically, it has always been known that Jacob Zuma cannot be trusted, huh? That kind of stuff is what's happening to Floyd, and because he cannot humble himself and tell the truth, he comes to us to make it seem like he learned something special from Jacob Zuma. Of course, he has to say that, because to admit that he made a stupid decision would prove that he's not as smart as he wants to seem. He's not as discerning as he ought to be. He's not a critical thinker. He played with fire and he got burnt.
I got to learn from the rich experience of President Zuma and many other leaders of Umkhonto weSizwe.
Him admitting that Zuma is a pathetic individual would call into question Floyd's capabilities as an individual. Floyd telling the truth about Jacob Zuma's character would call into question his own discernment, and I do not think that he's ready for that. Therefore, he will go to the grave defending a corrupt, incompetent betrayer in order to defend his own slimy, rotten integrity. Oh, what a shame.
I got to even have a much more nuanced understanding of the politics of South Africa, of the continent, and the world, and of course enrich out of a broadly theoretical perspective which we had before.
Unless Floyd Shivambu humbles himself before his fellow citizens, the truth will never come out of Floyd Shivambu's mouth.
I think it was a necessary and a better, far much more qualitative decision that we took to participate in Umkhonto weSizwe, and we continue to learn and be guided by President Zuma, who deeply understands our people and is in constant communication and touch with ordinary people in many parts of South Africa, but also has got a proper and correct appreciation of what is happening in the continent, in the African diaspora, and in the progressive world. So it's so far so good in terms of Umkhonto weSizwe.
So with all those letters flying around, that you've been removed.
And it is the truth that we need spoken and spread across our nation. We need to understand that certain citizens do not study, think, and decide for themselves, unfortunately. They accept everything that comes out of the mouths of people like Floyd Shivambu, which is why I personally hope that he humbles himself and tells the truth, if not for his own sake, then for the sake of the deceived South Africans who are still viewing Zuma as a messiah. Growing up, there were certain people we were told never to play with. Zuma is that kind of person. He's a person that you should never allow your children to play with. Girls should never visit him or converse with him at all. Men and women should avoid him at all costs or risk becoming betrayed, corrupted, or even impregnated. I know that you love him. I know that he charms many of you. But look at the facts objectively, South Africans. The facts say support or vote for Zuma at your own risk. Anyway, that's it for today. Please share this video with all the Zuma-loving, Floyd-loving, MK-supporting people that we have in our country, just to help them see the truth about their party and their favorite comrades. If you'd like to support the work that we do, please visit www.citizenconcern.co.za and buy a hoodie or a t-shirt. I'm Katlego, this is Citizen Concerned, and until next time, beware of the comrades.